go ahead and start. All right, it's after 1 o'clock. Call meeting to order. Notice the meeting was properly posted on Monday, March 20th, 2017. Let's go ahead and do you have all the estimate of needs here?
Yes.
Okay. We do have them?
All that we have.
I have everything that I've sent to you. I can make another copy that can be the actual board copy if you want me to.
Well, I was just going to see if there's a motion to receive all the estimates, or, I mean, we can just do the ones that we have so far, but I was actually just going to address them, or we could come back to it, though, after we...
Well, you have them. If you want me to leave you my book and let it be your copy, I guess I can do that if you want to do it that way. I prefer to have a book, but...
We receive the ones we're going to talk about today that are on.
Okay.
Just want to receive each of them as we
go.
Get them.
Yeah. Okay, we can do that. Well, we've got a separate item.
That's what I was asking earlier, was whether or not people needed to bring a copy for you. I didn't, because I thought we were just going to do the whole 9 that I had ready.
Okay.
Would it be better if I just print that out?
I mean, if it's not too much hassle.
No, I can do that.
Okay, well, we can come to that item later in the day. Okay, item number 3 is discussion of possible action about processes and procedures. Does anybody want to discuss anything before we get into this?
Is it limited to 17, 18, or can we talk about 18, 19?
Any relevant questions?
Let's just make a note and give clerk staff plenty of time to get the information in and get it out to us before we actually begin looking at reports. It's hard when you get
Well, it's
the
all
things.
attached to the agenda,
Yeah.
the ones that were on today's meeting.
Okay. All I saw was the ones that, and that's on me, but
Okay, no, the other ones have been attached for several days.
were the ones I just got, so.
And the official answer to your question is the agenda items say 17, 18 budget, so
No, we can't discuss it. Okay, I'm out of the room.
All right, item number 4, we'll come back to later. Item number 5, discussion of possible action to review the estimate of needs for Oklahoma County General Government, Commissioners, and Economic Development. All right, we've got Kelly Thomas here to present. Which one are you going to start with, Kelly?
General government?
Okay.
Okay. What page is that in the handy dandy number?
22.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly, for taking care of my... Okay. That's the scanner treasure?
Huh?
That's actually page 8 of the PDF.
If you read the page numbers at the bottom, it's 22.
We just figured it out. Sorry, you guys miss Amy.
As long as you're not arguing with yourself.
I mean, not yet.
That's when
Just give it time. Give it time.
All right, Kelly, go ahead.
The only changes that we have for next year, we lost one of the retirees that we paid, the $50 a month, so that is cut in half for next year. The insurance premium and bonds, that is the $54,019. Dan did not have an accurate amount from the insurance company, so he told me to increase it by 10%, which raised it to $16,000. Veolia went up approximately 5.5%, a little over 5.5% to the $81,900. And Keith was out with a Destiny family, so the building space leases that we have went up. I took the amount from last year and put them and raised them the same amount that we did last year. And one of them was $6,000, the other was $12,000. On the postage meter rental, we don't pay the rental, so I put it on the maintenance and the support instead of on the rental part. So we buy the labels, we buy the ink for it, and then the DA contract went up almost 2% this year to for $13,000. The retirement fees lowered approximately 25% is what John told me. He didn't have an exact number because of different fees that would be added onto it. And then the bid assessment on the services other at the bottom, I don't have the USID assessments, they're all bid assessments, so I just combined them. So altogether, mine only raised a difference of $28,777.
Kelly, if you don't mind, I brought a chair over here, so we got another member of the board that needs.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
no.
you need to vote.
No.
Yeah. You can finish what you're ending and then wait.
No, you're-
Sorry.
I didn't want to eat in front of you,
Yeah.
just behind you.
Sorry.
And I'm sorry, I was getting a chair. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no.
I was grabbing a chair, so I missed, when you were talking about the Veolia, last year, I remember when we discussed this, it was an arbitrary number that was brought into, it's just a percentage. Is that the case here, or is this an estimate from Veolia?
It's from Veolia, just like it was last year. They lowered it last year, and then after we did the budget, they came back with another number because gas prices fluctuate so much. They had raised it after we had done the budget. So, September, Danny came in, and if I'm not mistaken, you came in and asked for more money, is that right?
Yeah, they'll typically give us two estimates. They'll give us this initial estimate, and then come September, we'll ask again, or around August, when the gas prices, if they fluctuate, that estimate will change. So as of right now, this is the estimate directly from Veolia.
Okay.
No, we don't make them up, they give us the numbers directly.
Kelly, you know how we're tracking it so far this year with the expense for Veolia as far as how much we spend?
I don't have the numbers with me, I can get them for you. I do know
Well, I was
that
just curious if we were going to come in to what we thought we budgeted for this current fiscal year.
it's pretty close to
Okay.
the second estimate that they did give us.
Okay.
I know the other utilities have been very low, but we've also had a very mild winter
Right,
and a
right.
very mild summer last year. I didn't raise them,
Right.
but I didn't lower them either. I would like to keep them the way they are because we have quite a bit of money on them. But if we have a harsh summer or winter this year, we're gonna need that money.
Right.
You said you're estimating about a 28,777 increase in your estimate of needs is what it,
At 28,000.
okay.
20,000.
Okay. On the salaries, and I just came across this as I was researching for mine. This is the BOCC's estimate of needs? Art?
No, this is the general
General
government.
government. Government.
Okay, sorry. I'm with you.
Now, you said that Dan did not have an actual dollar amount for insurance premiums for this next year, so you just did a
You told me to put 10%.
10% more. Are you anticipating, did he mention to you when he thought he would get the actual figure?
He sent an email to the company and he CC'd me on it, but we've never heard back from them.
Okay, when you do hear back from them, can you get with a member of this group so we can make the necessary changes?
Yes. And the thing on the office space that we rent from the gentleman for 911 and 919 Northwest Fourth, I can put those numbers in there also.
Okay.
So the increase you have there for those, is that the building space?
Mm-hmm.
Is that just you just did a percentage
Yeah,
there too?
the same that he had gave us last year. And Keith hasn't told me for sure if he's going to raise the rent over on ICD or not.
I was looking at the 12,000 increase.
The 50
Yeah.
to 103.
I have raised it approximately 10%.
Are you projecting a lapse this year?
What do you mean?
Are you gonna have money left at the end that you give back to the county?
Yes. I'm gonna have a little over 500,000, maybe a little more, depending on how the rest of the year really goes for the utilities.
What's driving
Thank you for
that
that.
$500,000 lapse for this year? What's driving that you'll have $500,000 left over? What came up short?
Utilities, depending on them. You cannot accurately decide what you're gonna spend on utilities I can't accurately decide, you know, their cell phone, how the judges are gonna use it, different things like that. A lot of them I can, it is set in stone what we're gonna spend, but a lot of it I can't.
Well, I understand, I was just thinking if there's anything outside of the utilities and so forth that might be contributing to that.
Everything outside of it is pretty cut and dried, and I mean, we've got contracts on it and, you know, exactly what we're gonna spend. But the fluctuation in the things that we don't know is so high, you can't say.
You said cell phones for judges.
We have one cell phone the judges uses. They use, the sheriff calls them, the deputies, when they need warrants, and they can sign them on off hours.
Okay.
Kelly, outside legal usually has money left over. Are you projecting any left over there?
I don't know,
Since it's
I
usually
think
outside legal and, utilities, but,
yeah, no, we've pretty much dried that up this year.
okay.
Yeah, might be a little bit, but I'm not expecting it with the bills
That's
we've
fine.
had
That's
this
just
year.
another area that I know.
Yeah, we usually don't touch it at all. No, if we do, it's very little, but not this year.
So water, we're thinking it's gonna be about the same, even though we had,
Well, the bills were very,
How much?
very low this year.
I know, and we had that huge flood with all that water. Hopefully, we don't have that
Can you say so?
reoccur. Sorry. This is a little off subject. Does anybody have any other questions for Kelly as it relates to the general government? And guys, just kind of as an overarching statement as to all of the estimate of needs that we're going to discuss today, I think if we can hit the highlights and get some of our preliminary questions out of the way, then we can always call we're starting this early, so we can always have departments come back and answer more tedious questions as they come up after the review. Okay.
Let me ask one more question before we leave this one. The DA contract, the increase, do we know what that's attributed to?
They sent a spreadsheet. Did you get a copy of their spreadsheet?
I didn't.
Because I know we gave
Brett didn't
Reno,
give it to you?
Oh, you mean
They send that big spreadsheet that has all their state costs on it and what the state, he didn't send it to you this year?
are you talking about their contract, or?
No, it
I don't
has
know what
like
you're
what they
talking
get
about.
paid for their retirement and their longevity and, yeah, he was supposed to send it to you also.
So this is a request by the DA's office to increase their contract next year?
Yes, just like they sent last year, that big,
Typically, they provide a breakdown. of
Yeah.
so we can kind of see what they're
benefits.
asking.
Well, but now Russ is gonna talk at 3:30 on the DA County, isn't that when we're gonna talk about these two separate figures now?
Two separate.
I know we did some out of reserve this year.
Right. And
And
I
we did
thought that
finally-
was the 13, but
Finally
evidently
fund
not.
their full amount for salary, or their full office. I think it was
Right.
their full office, so I was just curious.
I can get you, I have this spreadsheet, I can get you all a copy. I'll just
Okay.
run down and print it out.
Russ will be here, he'll address both of them on item 10.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay.
The economic development, is that the commissioner?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can do that one.
Okay. That's the next one.
Everything on the commissioners has been lowered. The salary and wages, my salary and wages was taken off of the commissioners, off the BOCC, and it was put on health and safety. So the salary and wages was lowered next year for $39,000. The benefits altogether was lowered $21,400. Their travel stays the same. the maintenance and operation was lowered $2,100. And then capital, I'm asking for $1,000 to get a new computer. A new computer has not been bought since 7/2012. And when I talked to IT, they said approximately $1,000 would be enough to get a new computer. So,
And not be nitpicky because it's, you know, but what would that computer, are you, for the commissioners or?
for me,
Okay.
for a desktop.
But if you're under health and safety, as far as pay and everything, would it not be appropriate that those expenses, computers, whatnot, that you
Would
need to
it go
use
into
would
theirs
go under
or-
health and?
Because
Health
I
and
still
safety.
get my office supplies under here. That's what I didn't understand. It wasn't made very clear.
So the reduction in the M&O expenses,
All that is for parking and the cell phone.
okay. And the other supplies and all of that, that's all attributable to the work that you do?
Yes.
Okay.
We might consider, I mean, if it's not too late to process, I think be more transparent. And you're right, Kelly, you wasn't given a lot of corrections, a lot of this wasn't thought of when you were transferred.
Mhm.
But if it was all on Dan, instead of part on the commissioners and part on Dan. You have time to do that, to modify, I guess, when it needs.
Okay.
You might consider just getting with Dan and just transferring that cost over to his, and taking it off of this.
Okay.
So then all you would have in this cost center are the 3 commissioners and their benefits.
And travel. Because I'm assuming the furniture is also associated with you, or is that associated with the commissioners as well?
Well, he's using the furniture now. He is.
Do what now?
You're using the furniture now.
Okay, your old furniture.
Yeah.
We're good.
Well, but I'm talking about there's
There's
a
a budget of
$2,250 line item for furniture.
I don't know what it's
Yeah,
for.
District Two.
It's always been under capital, in case, I guess, they wanted to find more furniture.
Okay.
But ultimately, this would have been furniture for you, is that correct? The 22, that's on here.
I never used it. I don't know if maybe the commissioners wanted something. They could have came and said, hey, we need, you know, whatever. It's not very much money considering, you know, how much furniture costs now.
Yeah, it's not, but I think the question is more, is it more appropriate to be here or somewhere else? Because I know when Commissioner Johnson needs furniture, we do it out of the
District
1 general fund budget.
Yeah.
So if that $2,250 is for, like, if you as an employee of the board needed office furniture or whatever, then that's where it would be appropriate. But if you've been moved under health and safety, then it might need to be moved over there. And I don't know that this board has the authority to tell you to change your estimate of needs, but I do think that we could probably say, and legal counsel, correct me if I'm wrong, we could probably say that, you know, we think that it would be a good idea for you to visit with Dan, who is your supervisor, and see if he thinks it's appropriate for you to move those. I mean, I don't know, what do you think?
Well, I mean, we're just shifting dollars at this point. I mean, nothing's changed except it's going from one panel to another. It's kind of wow.
His point just is, we don't have any, this board doesn't have any authority, nor does the budget board have any authority to instruct a BOCC department on what to do.
Right.
For transparency issues, I mean, I think that, you know, the commissioner's budget ought to reflect what the commissioners do. You know, now that Kelly's with health and safety, I think those costs should be transferred over to Dan. The furniture costs, if Dan feels that he may need some additional furniture to support Kelly, then that would be something we could ever think about.
I agree. What I was saying, and I think, like,
Process
on the head
question.
is a process question.
Yeah, we all agree with you.
So, yeah, if you,
Say we all.
and we'll talk to, I mean, Dan will be here for his presentation, and we can also discuss it with him. And, I mean, for all I know, he may have already built in some of those expenses for you, I don't know. But we can address that. But that's something that we need to come back and look at throughout this budget process, is potentially moving some of these expenses from this general fund to another one.
Okay.
Projecting any kind of lapse?
So it's been lowered all over $61,794.
The last is actually 15,000.
Anything else on this estimated need? Okay. Move on to economic development.
This is the fund that we have been paying the city, the Economic Development Trust Fund out of. And this year we have encumbered $200,000 for the invoice out of it, left $195,000 in it. Back in 2015, the minutes that they had, they spoke about leaving the $195,000 in this fund. If it was needed for anything else, they could transfer it out for whichever fund it was needed for. But they wanted, the budget board wanted to leave it in this fund instead of putting it into the pot for anybody to be able to use. That way the budget board could vote on what fund it was put into. So I went ahead and budgeted to leave it in this fund for next year.
Well, this $395, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this was from the proceeds of the sale of the property to Boeing, correct?
Yes.
And I think that's why it went into here. Now,
And it has to be used for something to do with economic development.
right, and that's why it was put into this account. So if you keep those monies in here and utilize them for economic development, that doesn't necessarily mean that we need to keep a $395,000 balance in there.
Well,
I'm not saying that we shouldn't, I'm just saying that,
we got an ask today from the chamber for the next fiscal year for the $200,000 pretty much.
I still have the money encumbered for this year,
Right.
and I haven't received the invoice
I
to
think
go ahead
that's
and
what
pay it.
maybe you got.
the
You got a
invoice
copy.
came across, I think I got the invoice a few days ago
Okay.
for the second half of the.
Yeah, but I'm dealing with, the chamber on this.
On the next,
On that,
okay.
yes.
I think the invoice for the first part of this fiscal year, we just received, as in this week or late last week. We had, the board did approve to pay it out of this, out of economic development. One thing to kind of bring up is through all the bond refinancing, which we weren't aware of, it's where one of the bond councils went through and looked at all our separate cost centers. We discovered we do still have some money that we can use for the chamber contract. They talked to us about actually, hey, have you paid the invoice for this year? If not, can you use the bond funds to cover it instead of this money? So there's some stuff we need to kind of work through, but we couldn't do anything until we got the first invoice.
Right.
How much is that first invoice?
$100,000.
100?
Are those bond funds, though, that we could potentially utilize instead of the $100,000 that's in here, are those more restrictive
Yes.
than this particular?
Yes.
Okay, well then, yeah.
Yeah, we want to
probably
use the bond funds first.
It's the most
We just-
restrictive.
It's what was left in Devil's Town, and we thought we had exhausted all of it, but we still have some, so. So we want to try to use that on any chamber invoice that comes across or comes up. But that then would leave more money in this, for 17-18. I think it'd just be important, I think the intent was to keep whatever's in economic development, in here, even if it takes 3 fiscal years to spend, so it'll just be a big note, kind of at the end of the year to make sure whatever's in that fund, gets reappropriated to it, so.
Do you know how much is available in that other?
Well, we had $395, and I think we were gonna pay the chamber contract for 16, 17 out of that, so we would leave $195, but now we found.
No, I'm talking about the other monies that you found. Do you know how much that was?
79,000, I don't have it right in
Okay,
front of me.
that's fine.
There were 2 places, it was a 79,000 and, let's see.
So it would be enough to
Right.
finish out.
And I'll have that answer before tomorrow.
Okay, great. It's like fun finding money in a jacket you haven't worn in a while, right?
If only.
Anything else? All right, is there a motion to receive these three estimated needs for general fund, general government, general fund county commissioners, and general fund economic development?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to receive those estimated needs. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, they are received. Thank you for your time, Kelly. All right.
Okay.
Treasurer's Department, item number 6, discussion and possible action to review the fiscal year 17-18 estimate of need for Oklahoma County Treasurer.
You guys pass that this way, just kind of notes that are already typed up. I do want to apologize. Denise Billion is our first deputy who does all the details and prepares these. She's going to be here today. She had a medical emergency with her mom and had to leave really quick. So I'm going to do my best, but I bet we can get through it. If there's any questions that I can't answer, I'll definitely get you the answer.
What's your fund number?
We are 150.
So you're up to the top.
Our office operates out of 2 funds, the general fund, the resale fund, and the mortgage tax. Our general fund dollars and our mortgage tax dollars are for the operation of our office. There's no restriction. There are restrictions on our resale, and that's kind of where we get a little, have to really watch what we're doing. It has to be spent in conjunction with the collection of delinquent taxes. With the budgets we turned in, we're asking for 12% of our office, 14% of our office to be out of general fund, 84% out of resale, and that would be 2% out of mortgage tax fees. We have, with our resale, at the end of every year, we have to declare an excess on or before June 30th. And this is one of our special revenues. We declare an excess, and then we actually have to apportion that excess out. We can't keep it like most special revenue funds can keep it. We have done those apportionments. We've been able to do those apportionments for many years. I think the last one brought in 1.2 to the general fund. The other thing that's unique to our office is we get our own special audit every year. We're in that now with the auditor's office. It's called a treasurer's review, and that's where they dig more deeply into the checking accounts, the checking account reconciliations, the collateral, and then that's when they kind of go through our resale fund a lot more closely than with our fiscal year-end audit. We are asking, general fund does have an increase. We are asking for an increase of $134,721.19. That increase is broken down into salary of $88,800, benefits of $40,921, and M&O was a flat $5,000. I'll address the M&O first because it's easy. That's just postage. Postage and probably a little of our fees when we have to print out all the statements. Every year there's more statements and there's more postage, so that's what the M&O is. Our salary, I've addressed this board before, we're very leery of paying too much of our employees out of resale because of the restrictions. And we've asked before to cover a certain amount of employees out of general fund. We were able to cover the ones we wanted to all the way up through February. So what the increase is tied to is keeping those same people in general fund for a full year. They are 5 tax clerks. Let's see it there. The 5 tax clerks, 2 correspondence clerks, 1 cashier, and our chief investment officer. Like I said, we were only able to keep them in general fund. We paid them through February in there, but we've already, we're moving them for March, April, May, and June. So it's this set of employees asking to keep them for 4 more months in general fund. That's what the increase is.
Christie, how many employees, so this is, however many it is, 5, 7, 8, 9, it looks like. How many are on that fund all year long already?
7, 8, 9. How many are on that fund already? Well, all those are about to get moved to the resale fund for the
And how
rest.
many will that leave that are not ready
That'll
to
be Butch,
resale?
that'll be Butch out of general fund for 4
Okay.
months. They're in general fund now.
You're going the other way. I'm talking about in the special revenue fund.
How many are in
How many
there?
employees are in there now?
Gotcha.
Because you said you don't feel like you should be paying these out of there, so if you take these out, how many does that leave?
I gotcha.
And those are only paying 4 months out of special for these employees. So you're covering 8 out of general fund now,
We are,
and then
we are,
4 months are out of special rev.
yeah. We have 38 employees total. For February payroll, we did 10 out of general fund, 27 out of resale, and 1 out of mortgage. So this is, what, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so 27 minus 9 is what we do.
Thank you. If I get a hard question like that, I'm gonna be in trouble because I ain't used to
We done.
What would you do if you didn't get the funding for those in the general fund?
The same thing we did this year, fund them as long as we can,
Okay.
and then move them over to resale.
Even though you feel you shouldn't be using resale.
I don't know what else, yeah.
So just to
The
be
one thing
clear,
about resale, it's not cut and dry, so it kind of works to our benefit, but we get questioned about it all the time. How is the chief investment officer for 4 months tied to delinquent taxes? Well, you can say, delinquent taxes come in all year, he's investing those dollars, so you can, but it gets tricky, We just would like to make a better analysis.
so just to be clear, your general fund increase is mostly associated with salary and benefits increases. But those are not associated with any new hires or pay adjustments. It's associated with not shifting as many employees off of general fund throughout the fiscal year. It's leaving those that you're currently paying 8 months out of general fund, leaving them in there for the full year. Correct?
Yes, that is correct. We did have 1 new hire, 1 new position. We filled vacancies, but 1 new position, and that's out of resale all the way. It's not one of these people.
Is the trend towards these folks being able to stay on general fund a shorter amount of time each year as we move forward?
That's a good question. I would like to, I would think yes. I think,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Christie at this time? Okay. Which one do you want to do next?
I guess I covered them all together.
Yeah, I was gonna
I'm
say,
sorry.
you kind of just generally covered the
Yeah,
differences of the three.
Yeah, well, I did have a question
Sorry,
then,
okay.
as it relates to all of
Sure.
it. If you look at the resale and go to the salary computation worksheet, at the bottom, we've got, and this is going to be kind of a global question as well. So Danny, Matthew, if any of you guys can help, on the health and dental benefits, we've got 34 employees listed down there as far as being on insurance. You had 9 on your other one on the general fund.
Good question.
So that's 43, and then there's 1 on the other one, so that's 44. And you had mentioned that you guys have a total of 38 employees. And I'm sure, like most other departments, you don't have 100% of your employees that are under coverage. And I think maybe where the problem lies is when we do, and a lot of us have, general fund shifting of employees from general fund to special revenue fund, and it may just be for a few months out of the year, but are we allowing for a notation that we're not basically double dipping on our estimated needs for the medical insurance because we have that same individual maybe on one estimate of needs for 8 months and on another for 4 months, but we got 12 months of medical and 12 months of medical on
That's
both.
exactly
Does that
right.
make sense?
Yes, that's exactly what happened on this. And I've got other departments that did the same thing, who are requesting money out of general fund, but they know they're probably not gonna get it, so they still ask for the whole thing and their special revenues as well.
But that, according to Denise, you said that was at your direction, to put them on there and then to put them over here.
Well, it is,
for 4
because you're
months. Okay.
showing them as, additional staffing needs in section 3. So in order to make that balance,
You have to.
as far as splitting it for a certain number of months, I wouldn't know anything about that, but you're right, it's shown twice. You're doing it this way.
Well, and like I said, I don't think it's just you guys, I mean, yeah, that may be the case on mine too, I need to go back in and look, and, but I think we need to track that on everybody's to make sure that the health and dental is accurate at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, we won't know until you figure out funding for general fund, how many people are actually gonna be needing to be covered in the special revenue fund.
Well, but, say your budget stays the same, just for argument's sake, then you would be able to pay those same employees for 8 months out of general fund and then 4 months out of, one of the special revs, out of the resale. Is there a way to allocate that, you know, a 60-40 split or a 70-30 split? You put 70% of the medical on the general fund and 30%, or whatever the percentages work out to be.
We can do that, as soon as it's determined.
Okay. I'm not picking on
No,
you at all,
no,
it's just I
no.
noticed it and I wanted to go ahead and mention that now, so we can kind of, have a heads up going through the process.
And it gets tricky with the revenue funds, you know, because when it's all said and done, we have to go build the budget, the actual budget document, the adopted budget. So we use the estimate needs for special revenue funds to plug in. Well, if a department doesn't get certain funding out of general fund, then whatever they've submitted on their estimate needs for their special revenue funds may need to be updated. So it-
Yeah, we've never
Right.
done that before,
But we may need to do updates at the end of the
I
process.
wouldn't.
Well, I think that's the issue we run into every year, because we build our estimate of needs for our special revenues based on our request out of general fund, which I think is where you were going. And if we don't get what we ask for our general fund, yeah, you do have to go back and completely rebuild based on those figures. So that might be something we need to consider for this fiscal year. 'Cause I know for our budget, for example, is every year, I'm just using ours, so I'm familiar with it. You don't always get what you request in general fund, but you're basing your overall budget request on that. And so if that's not funded, then you gotta go back and make some tough decisions as to changes if those are required. So before you publish the budget, everyone may need to have to go back and reassess their special revs, and, I mean, really go back and reassess most of your budget based on that, because these are purely estimated needs, and not what your final budget's gonna
Right.
look like. We've never done that before, but I agree with Danny.
Well, and that's part of the reasoning and the rationale that I wanted, and that everybody wanted, I think, to move this whole process up a month. I know, I mean, we're limited because we don't know what revenue projections are gonna be yet, so, I mean, there's not, I mean, we can't, you know, go through all of these in 3 days and then say we're gonna do this, and this, because we don't know what money we have, to allocate, but we're able to start these conversations and go through the process, and then at the end of the day, we can come back in and make the necessary adjustments, to the estimate of needs once we've, discussed everything in depth, so. Does anybody else have anything for Christie? All right, is there a motion to receive the treasurer's estimate of needs, which would be their general fund, treasurer 150, the resale property, treasurer 1,500, and the treasurer mortgage fee fund? A motion and a second on the floor, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, thank you, Christie.
We've got a PowerPoint for our, so he's gonna need to load that up. If anybody wants to run to the bathroom while he's doing that, or if you want me to just kind of start.
Does anybody need time to go to the bathroom? If not, then Mikey keyboard. Start at your leisure.
The builder review files.
Yeah.
That's what it is, PowerPoint.
Should be able to double click it.
Awesome. Slideshow.
Chris, did you know what your numbers for this year are as it relates to this?
That's
Which
what
one, the top part? The top part is
Yeah.
what we just turned in.
I know, but I mean, as far as your percentages, do you know what you currently?
16, 17?
It's very, yeah,
I don't.
Slideshow.
that's fine.
I don't, but we can.
It'd probably be easier
Well-
for me to use the keyboard than to try to fight this mouse. So, I guess I'll have to ask indulgence. Now that I see the presentations that went before me, I may be a little overkill. But we are the second biggest department in the county. And so there is a lot to the budget presentation. So if you get bored during the budget presentation, I brought toys for you to play with. I was actually, put one by Scuda, I was actually on my way out the door and I saw these hanging on the handle. They're left over from Christmas for my employees 2 years ago. And I thought, what the heck, I'll take them to the budget board presentation. And if you get bored with me, then you'll have something to do while we're here.
Hang on real quick.
What happened?
Would this be considered a bribe?
I was gonna use it as a weapon, when you throw it back.
You guys never did set that limit on gifts, right?
This is not.
District 2 brought that up, that we needed to set a limit on
But this
gifts.
is not a donation to the county, this is to me personally, not the county.
Yeah, I bought it with me personally money too, so just from my heart to yours. I didn't get that first slide updated. I told you guys, Amy is off this week. Dad's funeral is tomorrow, so she'll be dealing with that. Here we go. Okay, so this is kind of the general overview of our request. As you can see, the first column is the 18 needs, the second column is the 17 funds, the third column is the difference, and then a percentage of the difference in the fourth column. But the one thing that this doesn't take into account is the September supplement, and annualizing that figure, because our appropriation for employees did change in September. The budget board gave us an additional $354,000 to fund 10 additional employees, and the cost of 10 employees at $2,500 a month is $496,000. So if we're going to annualize that figure of the adjustment that was made in September, I've adjusted what we received last year by $142,125 on my court clerk estimate of needs adjusted summary. So, and I'll have all this for you. In fact, I can go ahead and, I also brought an executive summary that you get to take with you, so that you won't have to remember all of this highly detailed information.
Was this out of your personal pocket, too?
No, but I will say, because I did anticipate the question, I should have let Randy ask the question. If you've got money to pay for color brochures, you don't need any more money. We use the Supreme Court's printer and their paper, so we took it from the state. Cody, I know you'll appreciate the state paying for some of our expenses in our office.
No comment.
So, that's in here, and so rather than a 14% difference, the difference in what we're asking for is actually about 11%.
Before you move off of this, and I apologize, I'm probably being extremely ignorant here, but when I look at the estimate of needs that was emailed,
It's something different.
it has a grand total budget, the difference is $924,500.
Right.
$24.
So-
What's the difference?
So here, the 924,591, okay? Then when you adjust for annualizing what we got in September, because that was just a partial year's funding
I got you.
for the 10 employees, that's where the difference drops to 782. You with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, yeah.
So-
I understand where you're going.
Yeah, no, at least you understand. You may not agree with it, but at least you understand.
Right.
Okay. So I wanted to kind of let you guys get a picture of what it is that we face and why it is that we continue to come and ask for more money. And, you know, numbers on a piece of paper are one thing, but kind of showing you what it is that we live with every day. In 2008, there were 125,000 cases filed. Last year, it was almost 159,000 cases. And so our case filings have gone up 26%. And that's a really big indicator of how much work we have to do, because that's what we do, is we handle the paperwork for cases. When you take that and you convert that into paper, those court cases that come at us, in 2016, last year, we filed over 1.1 million documents in our office, and we can run a scanning report, and that's how we know how many documents were scanned, and we now scan everything. So that's how many documents we filed. Those documents, some of them are 1 pages, some of them are 100, but they average about 3 pages, so we had 3.1 million pages filed in our office. As we were looking at the storage issue, we came across, when we were talking to some of the folks, what do they allocate for space based on number of pages that you need to store? And this is the rule of thumb that they use, 2,000 pages per 1-foot storage box. So, if you took our 3.1 million pages and you stacked them on top of each other, it'd be 1,571 feet tall. It would be taller than the new World Trade Center and the old World Trade Center if you don't count their antennas. And we don't really want to stick an antenna on our paper, so we're not going to count their antennas. In 2008, we had 157 employees. Last year, we averaged 107 employees. That's a decrease of 32% on our employees over the last 9 years. But we did get the mid-year adjustment thanks to the help of the budget board in September. And so we have that trending in a different direction than where it was. Everybody wants government to do more with less, and we feel like we're doing that and more in the court clerk's office. In 2008, when you take the number of employees that we have and what we were spending on those employees in conjunction with, as a ratio to the cases that were filed in our office. For each case filed in our office, we were spending about $2.88 on employee costs. Last year, that went down to $2.05. So it went down 29%.
Don't show that to anyone that makes us do filing fees.
Yeah. Well, no, that's what I'm saying, is we're drowning. I mean, we're literally drowning in paper. For every employee that we had on staff in 2008, we filed 801 cases. So that's how many cases were filed for each employee that we had. Last year, it was 1,486. And so that's a gigantic increase of 86%. So the resources we have, we're spending about a third less dollars for labor to the workload that's coming in. There's 86% more of the work in relation to the number of employees that we have. And then one other thing that's really important is that in 2008, we didn't scan hardly anything. Today, we scan every piece of paper that comes into our office. And so that's probably, I estimated in the executive summary, 400%. It's probably higher than that according to my scanning people. But that's something that's different now than it was in 2008. So, to get into the meat of our request, the first thing that we are asking for is for this board and for the budget board to consider the issue of pay equity. I know it's come up before. The next slide is going to put it in a very clear way what those differences are. This is not about trying to say that anybody's doing anything that they shouldn't be doing, but just when you compare our employees with the rest of the county, we feel like they're worthy of just as much money as any other department. I took a snapshot in February, took the number of employees, and divided that into the total payroll, and those are the averages. We took the chief deputy and the elected official out because we felt like those two high-paid positions would have a bigger impact on the average on a small department like the districts than it would on a big department. And so to be fair, we felt like we would take those out. I made another decision that I wanted to be transparent about in these numbers. On the BOCC department number, I included purchasing. I know they're not a BOCC department, but they're kind of a similar type department. I left out juvenile, law library, and public defender. because I feel like those are just kind of pass-through expenses for you guys, and you don't have a lot of control over what they're paid. And so I didn't think that they ought to be included. So, on average, employees in our office make 32% less than the highest paid department in the county, and 19% less than the average for the rest of the county. And we've just not been able to keep pace with those dollars that are out there. We can't compete with folks in this building, much less compete with the private sector. And what that means for the taxpayers is that right now we've got a lot of employees who have been with us 20 and more years. They're going to be retiring in the next few years. We got a lot of new people that have been with us less than 5 years, but we don't have a lot of employees in that middle area. So we've got a group at 15 years that we feel like can step up into those supervisor roles, but we're not developing that middle management because people aren't sticking around long enough for us to develop them into the kind of employees that can take over and fill those management positions so that we continue to provide good services for the taxpayers. And that's why that's important. These are the numbers if we were to adjust our salaries to the level at the top pay department and to the level at just the average in 1 year. Obviously, this is one portion of our request, and so both of those numbers as one portion of our request are, in my opinion, complete non-starters, and so that's not what we're asking to do. We want to take a small step towards that, and we're asking for about $400,000 in salary and fringe. And the exact figure is on the report somewhere. It's a $390 and change. And what I did was I just went through line by line, employee by employee, and said, if we were going to begin on the road to pay equity, how would we anticipate adjusting salaries? It wouldn't just be an across the board, you're going to get this percentage. It's going to be based upon what their responsibilities are, how well they perform their duties. I mean, there'll be a lot involved in it. We're not asking just to do it across the board. But that's why it's an odd number and not just an even amount of money. It's a $390 and change figure. It would take our average from a little over $3,000 to a little over $3,400. So it would increase across the board the average about $400 a month. And we would like to start down this road, and we'd like to have it completed over the next 3 years and just take a little bit of a bite of the apple at a time. So that's the first part of the request. The price tag for court clerk pay equity is $390,480. The second part is 5 additional employees. I know we talked about that we got 10 additional employees last year. We feel like we still need to enhance those efforts. We saw that slide earlier, 157 down to 107, starting back up last year to 118. We believe that our ideal employee number would be 125. We believe that would allow us to adequately, and it would allow us to do a really good job, we feel like, of serving the taxpayers. Last year, like I said, we averaged 107. We were as low as 104 at one point, and we were as high as 112 during the calendar year. We received that mid-year funding for 10 additional employees. We feel like 117 puts us at a level to keep our head above water, and what that does is we feel like we have every area of our office, and we have over 20 distinct job classifications in our office where they're handling small claims, or they're handling traffic, or they're handling marriage license passports. I mean, all these different things that are each one highly specialized, and we feel like that adequately staffs those places. But on any given day, we have 10% gone, and so we have holes on those places where we have put people. And what exacerbates that is that we have 36 clerks for judges. There are 35 judges, and we have 2 in Judge Hall's chambers because he does the work of 4 judges. And so those have to be filled. And when you take the rest of the operation, and because you're taking out of the rest of the operation to fill those, the impact is more like 15% vacancy on the rest of the operation. What we'd like to do with the 5 additional employees is to kind of make them hybrid jobs. We would want them to perform all of the core services in our office. Rick comes from the construction industry, and on a job site, they call these guys hot shots. They can do any job out there. They can do electrical, they can do plumbing, they do drywall, they can do painting, and that way they could go and be plugged in where they're needed to be plugged in. That's what those 5 employees would do. We think that probably we'd be coming back to next year to try to get out to that round number, depending on how things change, if things change at the legislature. If I was sitting in your chair, the first thing I would say, well, you had 104 employees for a while, now you've got 25. How in the world could you have done it with 104 employees? Well, first, I would say, we didn't. Our services suffered a great, docketing and scanning was 90 to 120 days behind during that time. And what that means to the people that count on our services, if you're an attorney and you've got a case where service was necessary and you had to turn in that return of service and file that in the court clerk's office, and your hearing was maybe set 45 days from now, you show up for court, you don't have that, but you need to prove to the judge that you performed that service, you're going to run by the court clerk's office to get it. Well, when it's in a stack of paper in our scanning department, waiting to be handled, it takes a long time for us to find it. We did. We would find those needles in the haystack for them, but what it did was it led to inefficient workflow, which just became a vicious circle of taking people out of what would make things go faster and go easier to deal with the problems that it was causing that we didn't have enough people. So that was one of the issues we had when we had 104. We worked Saturdays to keep up. Most people in the county probably didn't know that because we paid that time and a half out of our revolving fund. So that's a significant reason that our revolving fund is lower today. Most of the reason I would blame on the administrative office of the courts, but that also contributed to the revolving fund going down, paying the time and a half for those over 40-hour weeks when those employees would come in and work Saturdays. Morale was low. It led to more absences. It was common when Mr. Warren arrived for us to have more in the range of an 18 to 22% absence rate, and so we're really pleased that it's running about 10% now, and we feel like that's a real good indicator that we need to keep an eye on to make sure that we're taking good care of our employees and they want to come to work. E-filing comes up every time we talk about the court clerk's office. What about e-filing? When are you going to get e-filing? When are you going to fix that? And of course that's outside our control. That's in the Supreme Court's control. But I think it's important for everybody to understand that e-filing is not the magic bullet that everybody thinks that it is, including me up until we kind of started really talking about it and thinking about it. We may get some form of limited e-filing this year, maybe in a couple of divisions, and it may not even be on new cases. It may just be on the things that are filed within the case once the case is open. And so that may help a little bit on the traffic at the counter. Even once we have complete e-filing, we're always going to have pro se litigants, people who are representing themselves. They don't know what to file. They don't know where to get it once they figure out what to file. They're certainly not going to be able to negotiate through figuring out how to file it online. That's why people spend tens of thousands of dollars in 3 to 5 years of their lives to become attorneys, because it's not simple, it's complicated. Any e-filing system that we get needs to be more efficient, not less efficient, and this is critical, and I'm going to show you why. We have e-filing now in Oklahoma. Randy may be aware of this. I don't know if he's aware of the back end of it. Traffic tickets are filed with the court clerks electronically. But it's Okie e-filing. It's not something we ought to put out and be proud of. So, step one, Cody, you get pulled over for speeding. And if you've got that tag on the front of your purple Volkswagen, you may get a ticket for misleading the public as well.
I keep thinking pretty much like ShamWow.
Yeah.
So, you get pulled over. The officer is going to grab your driver's license. He's going to scan what's on the back of your license. He's going to go to his car to do that, and then he's going to choose your offenses on his laptop. He's going to hit print. He's going to print out the ticket, and he's going to give it to you. I don't know how many of your cars have printers.
All our patrol deputies, and we've got probably a few outside patrol that have e-citation. Yeah. And if we're not doing e-citation, it's all paper.
And then overnight they magically get sent to our office. Is that a pretty good summary of the first part of the process?
Yeah, except for sometimes we look that happy in the car writing the ticket.
No? No? All right. And they're not all purple convertible Volkswagens, I'm sure. But Okay, so, this is great. I mean, this is simple. Pull over, scan the ticket, pick the offense, print it out, electronically send it to the court clerk's office. That's wonderful. Here's where it gets fun. That system is called e-tickets, electronic tickets. Here's where it gets fun. We get to work the next morning after we've gotten all these tickets sent to us electronically, and we print them out. And then we take those pieces of paper and we lug them up to the 5th floor to the DA's office and let them sit on the desk up there and wait for them to press charges or endorse that traffic ticket. And then, once they're done with them, they cart them back downstairs to us on the 4th floor, where we e-file the ticket by manually typing it into the court system's computer that we are required by administrative order to use. We can't use any other system. So, if they're going to give us e-filing, and they're going to structure it like the only e-filings they've done so far, I don't think it's going to be a real good solution for any of us, and that's why we need to continue to work so that we can provide the best services that we can. So, cost of 5 new employees is half of what the cost of 10 new employees was, the $248,000 figure. So we got pay equity at $390, we got 5 additional employees at $248, the rest of it on the estimate of needs, the odds and ends. That balance there, the 106, 140, that's left over, we would try to put that towards some of the temp services and part-timers. It certainly wouldn't pay all of that. When we have periods of time that we are really far behind on things, we'll bring temporary people in to do filing to help us. It's hard to use them on anything else. One of the reasons that docketing got so far behind was because when we were low on employees, that was the easiest place to pull people out of, to go wait on the counter, to go to judges' chambers, to deal with people in the public and with the bar and the judiciary, because they're not dealing with people, so it's easy to pull them out. Their work suffers. Well, now we're caught up within 5 to 7 days on docketing our stuff and scanning our stuff, but what do we put off that we can still put off and put off easily? We put off filing it, putting it in the file. And so if a judge calls over and says, I need XYZ court file sent over, most of our judges, if we say, well, can we print it out for you, we'll say, no, I need to see the original. Well, that original may be sitting in a box waiting to go in the actual file on the shelf, because that's the one thing that I feel like we can put off. And if the legislature would ever allow us, I keep pointing to Randy, who's left there, but if they would ever allow us to not build a court file, just have the electronic court file suffice for the court file. We'll keep the original. If you want it for evidentiary purposes, we'll keep it. We'll keep it in a box with today's date on it, and we'll go get it for you. You may not get it in 2 minutes, but we'll go get it for you if you need that for that purpose. But that would save a tremendous amount of time and money for all of us. The second part is a little bit of an increase in M&O. We don't spend much on M&O from the county side of things. The majority of our M&O are copiers, all of our computers, all our computer support, our paper, pretty much everything in M&O comes out of the Supreme Court's dollars. We get about 158-ish, if I remember right, was what this year's M&O was, and I think we're asking for 170 next year. I think there's a courier in there maybe. We've asked for $25,000 in capital. I don't know when the last time was that we had any money for capital, unless, like this year, we had some left over and we could transfer some over. There's just not been an organized effort to update the things on that floor. I know it's an open meeting, and I know it was an open meeting when I said it in the infrastructure committee, but the 4th floor is a dump. Nobody likes to come to work in that environment. The carpet's old and dirty and nasty. The furniture is old and dirty and nasty. One employee complained she couldn't get the drawer open because whoever over the years had this desk had so much food stuffed in the drawer that there was stuff stuck in the works and she couldn't get it open. I mean, it's not a good situation. So we'd like to spend some money on furniture next year. So there are the 3 areas with their price tags and kind of a little bit more of a breakdown from the adjusted estimate of needs. Most of that information is in your executive summary.
One quick question.
Okay.
On your salary increase, there was a portion of that was a full fiscal year portion of the new employees at the budget board. gave you money for earlier this year, right?
I'm not positive about that.
What, you guys got some additional monies this year to hire 10 new employees.
Right.
Correct? But it wasn't for a full fiscal year, it was just for part of the fiscal year.
Right.
Okay? But that part of the fiscal year is in your adopted budget, but the rest of the fiscal year that they weren't on your payroll wasn't in there. Are you tracking?
The 3 months that weren't funded was not in there?
In your adopted budget.
Okay.
You're gonna need more money
Right.
next year to be able to pay those 10 employees. What was that dollar amount?
142.
142.
Yeah.
Have you filled those 10 positions?
Yeah, in fact, in February, we were one over, on the, you might have noticed on the slide, it said 118. And it'll be like that. I mean, there'll be months that we have 118, 119, and there'll be months that we have 115 or 16. Well, one of the luxuries, one of the things that's going to contribute to our turnover, when we are at the level that we feel like, we don't fund on FTE basis, but when we feel like we're at the level that the rest of the county agrees, this is how many employees we believe that you need, we agree with you, and we can get the job done. With new people, we're going to be really picky. I mean, we only want to keep the people that are all-stars that have the ability to move up into middle management. But we also need to be showing them a path to how they'll be able to do that and be able to retain those employees.
All right, Mike, I've got one more, and then we're gonna, I mean, anybody can ask questions, but you killed one and 15 minutes, so we gotta move along. And this was something that was not clear to individuals last year when we went through this, but your subsection, section 3, additional staffing, where vacancies to be filled, those 5 deputy court clerks that you're asking for, you've got them listed as vacant, just for a point of clarification.
Yeah, no, those would be new.
Those are new employees,
Yeah.
correct?
As you can imagine, I didn't have time to sit down with Amy when I was honing this, but yeah, those would be.
Just so everybody's clear, my idea of new is an employee or position that was not funded last fiscal year. It may not be a new position, you may have funded it 5 years ago or 6 years ago, but for our purposes.
Right, yeah, and that's the definition that I was using.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Mike, I have one question back to the 142,000.
Screwing up last year's
Yeah.
partial.
Is that included in your estimate needs or not included?
It's included in the request, yes.
Okay.
That's part of the
So it's
difference
part
in
of
last year's
part of
salaries
the
and friends and this year's salaries.
$924,000 difference?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But the 142 includes not only salaries, but it's your fringe
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
Do you have the breakdown of what's salary and what's fringe?
No, and Amy and I really need to sit down with that because we're underfunded in salaries and overfunded in fringe right now, the way the funds are sitting. And so it's impossible, that's not impossible, difficult for me to get a real good handle on where those are. We're probably in May or June going to be transferring money out of fringe up to salary.
Okay.
But, well, yeah, you can calculate that because at $2,500 a month, times the 5, so it's $30,000 a year. So times the 5 employees, so the other $100,000-ish, right? 30 times 5 is 150, we're asking for about 250, so about $100,000, so about $20,000 an employee. It's going to have healthcare in there and then the 19.65% of employee benefits. So, yeah.
Anybody else?
Can you share that pay equity slide with me?
Sure, what?
The pay equity slide?
Yeah, I like that too.
And can we talk about your stack of paper?
Sure.
No, but you wouldn't mind sharing that, that'd be fantastic. I might have to utilize some of that.
I set the bar high for your presentation has to be better. You're the largest county department.
You can send him that on Tuesday, because he does his presentation on Monday.
Would you mind going back to the slide real quick?
All right, is there a motion to receive the estimate of needs for the court clerk's office? So moved. Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
is received. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you guys for your diligence in listening to all of that.
Okay, item number 8, discussion and possible action to review fiscal year 17-18 estimate of needs for the county clerk's office. I sure hope there wasn't any.
I don't want to see that on YouTube, by the way, that presentation.
It'll be on the website.
It'll be on some infomercial at 3 a.m.
We're streaming live right now.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well,
Vote to receive. I can be a smart like now that I'm done.
We're supposed to go back and find you.
all right, our general fund estimate of needs, one page I want to point out to you first is the revenue collection that we are estimating for this fiscal year. This is money that the county clerk's office generates, and that goes into the Oklahoma County General Fund. We're estimating this year almost $5 million in filing fees that go into the general fund pot. It's the second biggest revenue producer behind property tax for the general fund.
And so that's how much you're estimating for next fiscal year?
For this fiscal year, yeah. And this is 90% of that, so we're taking 90% of our
That's
estimate.
we're down from last year.
This is definitely up from last year.
Are you seeing a trend upwards through the past couple of years?
Last couple of years, yeah, it kind of fluctuates with the real estate market. You know, real estate's up, filings are up, refinancing's up, so especially when the interest rates went way down, we saw an increase in filings, people refinancing their mortgages and buying more homes, so. All right, let's take a look at the breakdown of the general fund request. We're requesting a total budget of $3,666,968. That's a $797,515 increase, or 27.8% increase over our current year budget. We are requesting funding for 35 of our total 50 positions. Total salary amount of $2,152,224. The breakdown of that is we're asking for full-time, $1,899,000, part-time is $27,000, and then we give out safety awards to the tune of $7,500. Those combined add up to $1,933,982, which is our current year budget. So on top of that, we are requesting that 4 positions that are currently paid out of the special revenue fund be moved to general fund. We addressed to the budget board and to this board a couple months ago how we would like to move, actually we had brought to the board 10 positions out of our special revenue fund. We understand there's limited dollars available, so you know, we'd kind of like to phase that in over the next few years. So we're requesting 4 positions this current year. Those 4 positions in salary alone is $171,846. And also part of the increase is raises, 3% increase for everyone in the general fund, total $46,396.
Okay, I may have something different. Mine's showing 3 department clerks for $120,083.
And then increases at 131, 581.
Let's see.
Increase.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was going to ask you earlier when you gave the number out, what I have on here, the difference between 17-18 and 16-17, the difference was $797,365.47.
Okay, yes, sorry about that, $797,365 is the difference, and it's 27.8%. Those 3 positions, let's see here, sorry about that.
paid from UCC.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm sorry, it's 3 positions that we are currently paying out of the UCC fund. The $120,000 is just salary, and the rest of it is benefit, $49,000. So all total, 35 positions, total salary and wages, $2,152,000. Total benefits, $794,708. Benefits are increasing a little bit. We've asked for an additional $25,000 for unemployment during our restructuring. When we had the less than staff go, we did see an increase in our unemployment claims, so we're asking for that going into next year. Those are paid out quarterly, so we're going to have some additional going into next fiscal year. Travel, we're asking for the same amount in travel as our current year. M&O, we're asking for an increase of $383,438. Go back one page here. You can see the line items we're requesting are all the same, except we are requesting the increase for the Tyler Munis contract, our half, that we discussed a couple months ago, and we did get some reassurances from the budget board that would be addressed during the 17-18 budget process. So we're requesting those funds be paid out of the general fund, and we're open. It could either be added to our budget or moved to MIS budget. It does not matter to us. That'll free up funds out of our special revenue funds where we are currently paying for the Tyler Munis contract. The other request is $134,000 for Electra Digital. That is a new item. Mr. Hood has kind of touched on that in the past. It's our new county website that we're currently pushing forward with. And Mr. Hood is here today to kind of address that, to give you a little more detail on what all that entails. And then the other item is an increase of $107,390,000. That's for agenda and minutes software that we are looking at. The county's $107,390 that we currently do not have or utilize. Just another way for us to streamline the process, make our office a little more efficient. We're looking at 3 different companies right now, but as of right now, that's an estimated number of $107,390. So the salaries, the raises, the Tyler Munis contract, and the agenda software, and the Electra Digital, those are the increases in our request for this year. And I would like Mr. Hooten to kind of talk about the Electra Digital, if you would like to.
Can I ask a few things about salary before we get to the Electra Digital? On the 3% raise, are those merit-based pay raises, or are those across the board?
They would be merit-based. We did apply the 3% to every position. And I'm assuming each department's done the same thing in their estimate.
Okay. And then on the safety awards, the $7,500, is this new, or have you guys done this in the past?
We've done this in the past.
Was it out of a different fund? Because I didn't see it under the
Let me
general
tell you what
fund last
happened.
year.
I made everybody put that in part-time this year because that's where it's actually paid out of, so that retirement doesn't get taken out of it. So this makes it line up correctly where it feeds into that other previous sheet and calculates it correctly.
So that retirement doesn't get matched to it.
Correct.
Not taken
And it's
out.
always been paid out of the fund that person's being paid out of.
Okay.
What constitutes a safety award?
Safety award is $250 per participant. Employees are required to go to the safety meetings once a month. I'm sorry.
So they go 3-4 meetings a year, and then they get the safety award?
That's correct.
Is there any accident or lack of accident requirements, anything like that? Okay. On
There's always one county clerk people there.
the 3 additional department clerks, I'm sorry, not additional, because they're currently county employees just paid from another fund. Kind of like the question that was asked of Christie earlier, are them being paid out of the UCC, can they legally be paid out of the UCC fund, or is this a legality question where they need to?
They can, and that's where they're currently being paid out of. Again, we want to make sure that our UCC fund, our records preservation fund are being used for the purposes of those funds. UCC, it's a separate department, funded with filing fees, and we feel that any individual or expense paid out of that fund should tie back to the UCC fund. That's part of us wanting to move.
But if these folks stayed in that fund, I guess what I'm asking is, would there be a violation of that if
No.
they stayed in that fund?
No. And again, kind of like we had said previously, that if that fund went away, we lost that filing, we would still need those individuals. So we'd have to pay them out of general fund anyway.
Right, but, I mean, we can make that argument with all of our employees,
Yeah.
just about. So, but I understand what you're saying, I completely do, but I want to make sure whenever I'm looking at this, that, I mean, we need to consider the legalities, and I don't want to force any department to violate the law by employing somebody and paying for somebody out of a fund that's, illegal to do, and that's really where my question stems from on that. That's all I have on the salaries.
How many total employees does the budget ask for?
And we have a total of 50 employees, 35 out of general fund, 10 out of our UCC fund, and 5 out of our records preservation fund.
What's the net difference from last fiscal year that you budgeted for?
Last year, at this time, we had 57 positions. We're currently down to 49. We've got one vacancy.
Looking at your chart, I like the breakdown that was provided. I see 5 positions that are over $100,000. How many did you have last year over that amount?
I'd have to go back and look at last year. I would say 3 over 100,000, off the top of my head.
Did you say 10 was record preservation?
Yes. No.
10
I got it backwards.
10 UCC to 5 records preservation.
Well, when you said 35, the individuals in the full-time section 1, is that what you're talking about, 35? Because I'm only counting 33. I'm not trying to nitpick, I just want to make sure that we're looking at the same thing.
Well, again, and some of these were paid in February, that we are going to have to shift around. So February is just a snapshot of one point in time. That's what we're asking for this fiscal year. Next fiscal year is 35 individuals to be paid out of general fund.
Right, because that $153,000 negative is people that we've had to move to UCC and Preservation Fund after that time.
So are we in the same issue with the health insurance, like what we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
One thing I would like to propose, this salary computation worksheet going into next year is maybe looking at a different format. I know this is not a state auditor form. We came up with this years ago, but it's just real confusing when you're filling it out, and we get more questions on this particular form than any, and it's not real clear. It just needs a couple more columns or different format or something to kind of show where you're at now, what you're requesting for next year, but something we can certainly work on, maybe as a group.
That being said, I appreciate the way you guys fill this out, especially that top section. It's very clear what you're asking for and what's needed. I agree, maybe we can make some tweaks and stuff, but the way you filled this out, I appreciate that.
It makes it easier for us, too.
Yeah.
Jenny, had you told us that your half of the power units, it was this year you were doing a third out of general fund, third out of records preservation, UCC?
Yes, well, actually, it's going to be a little more than a third out of or a little less than a third out of the general fund, not quite a whole payment out of the general fund.
So that's
But there's nothing on here
right.
for your
Because
third.
our budget did not include that last year. We were able to absorb just cutting back on certain M&O costs in other places, out of necessity. So yes, we did not get $1 budgeted for Tyler Munis last year.
General fund, but you're
Out of
using
general fund.
special
Correct.
revenue.
Yes.
It appears to me you're shifting some funds from your special revenue to the general fund, is what you're requesting to do.
Right.
With the additional funds that you're going to free up in special rev, what are your plans for those?
Yeah, we've got some projects on the horizon. I kind of discussed this a couple months ago with you guys, as far as, Mr. Who's got some ideas about moving this office forward, becoming a lot more efficient, streamlined, and he's the expert on that, so a good opportunity if you want to.
Sure, I'd be glad to. What we're talking about doing is, is to, we've of course talking about this webpage that we've all heard about so many times, and it's a voice-activated website where everybody can literally talk to any device they want, their phone, their computer, their laptop, anything, and it will respond to their commands, and that it will, if you say you want to look up a property, who owns the property at a specific location, it will pull up that property, the last 10 owners of that situation. It also will do, and then it will help specialize it down into what you're looking for and what data you're trying to find. And it can, with the way we've established it, it can go through all of the county records in about 12 seconds. So it's a very fast way of looking through a lot of data. It also will, we have hoped that it would be used a lot for like Ancestry.com. All of you all have heard of that, where it's where people go online to see, where their dad went to high school, or where their great-granddad went to high school, or things like that. But there's a lot of uses that can be used for it, for people to just look up records of their family, things like that. And I think that will be, a lot of traffic will be driven towards that. There'll be a lot of, we'll be doing some publicity towards it, for it being user-friendly, where people can go on and just look up different things that they might want to know about, different ownership of property, different birth dates, whatever it might be, family trees, a large amount of things. But bottom line is it will push more dollars fees towards getting more money to the pie, to the general fund for what people are doing. If our bill, by the way, our fee stabilization bill passed the House of Representatives today, and if it passes the Senate, that would be an additional income of, as far as from what I can say from our studies that we've checked it, about $250,000 will go to the pie, which will be the general fund, for just fees of more work that will be done through that website and through different aspects of it. So I think there's a lot of exciting things that can be done, that once we start it and once it gets caught on, of course it's not going to get caught on, it's not going to catch on from just us saying it's available. We're going to have to promote it just like anything else, and there'll be a lot of, you'll hear a lot of buzz about okcc.online, and that's the actual domain. There's been a lot of painstaking, detail taken to doing all this. It will be a very state-of-the-art situation. It will bring a lot of hopefully positive light on the Oklahoma County Clerk's Office and the Oklahoma county system, and we think it'll be a win-win for everyone. And it will be used a lot, and I think a lot of people will pattern after it, but it'll increase our traffic from literally 50 or 100 people going online looking at documents to millions going online and looking at documents, and that's what we're going for. So if there's any questions, I can respond. I'd be happy to.
I just want to make sure I wrote this down right. You said the $250,000 in increased fees that would go to the general fund. Mm-hmm. The two things that have to happen for that is the legislation that's passed, and then people have to use the website?
Yes, I think the legislation would, if the legislation passes, that's what the effect will be. If we go back and look at what the fees have been in the past, that's not increased usage. That's just if the website were utilized.
Okay, so
go ahead.
So the $250K does have to do with people using the new website, or does not?
It does have to do with people using the new website, yes.
Now, is that specifically related to the, I guess not the agenda software, but is that the Electra Digital?
Yes.
Okay.
That has to do with a number of different things as to cloud-based service of cloud-based data and access of that data and usage of the voice-activated data, which all of this isn't anything really new. It was all developed back in 1980, 1970s. It's just that we're going to utilize it, and I think it will help a lot of things. Believe it or not, in the county court clerk situation, there's a lot of things that I'm not the county court clerk, of course, but a lot of those aspects of even judges making notations on their notepads, if they make a notation on an iPad, all that can be ADA accessible and be read to a person, absolutely. So there's a lot of things that will spin off that this will be a big positive for records retention for a lot of reasons, and this will help be the impetus to push all of us into more less paper and more digital usage of everything, and I think that's a real positive, and I think that we will see a net gain in just a short amount of time. Within a year or two, we'll have a huge amount of net gain of just usage and lack of paper documents that will be, I mean, you'll see, you will absolutely see an outcome where we'll be more efficient, be using less paper and more digital records.
For us, it starts with the Chief Justice. I mean, we have to use the system they give us.
Sure, and I'm not saying that, I understand that totally, and I'm just saying this example of possibilities of that, once people start utilizing it, there will be, even the Chief Justice, even the Supreme Court, they will notice it because it is something that can be utilized. Now, whether it gets utilized in the next 20 years, I don't know. Now, but it very well could, but something will change it, and we would like to be, the reason why it changes is that it's there, it's usable, and we can make it happen. So we hope that we can be part of it.
This won't replace any, it's giving people another option. They can go on their phone, but they can still get online and still see all the documents.
Yes.
That being the case, there's documents that they don't pay to look at.
Right.
Will that be the case with your phone? There's some that you will have to pay for?
No, they can get, where the fees will come in is that when they're actually getting an official document. There'll be several ways to do that. They can talk to the device. They can say, I'd like to get an official document. The official document will be obviously printed here. Also, it will be printed with a QR code, a colored QR code, where it can then be couriered to them within a few hours, or it can be mailed to them next day, or they can come to the office and pick it up. The final answer to that is all official documents would be coming out of our office and be given to people anywhere they want. But if they want to make a copy of a non-official document, they can absolutely do that anywhere in the world where they are. And that's...
Are you talking about all official documents generated in the county clerk's office, or all
county clerk's office?
Okay, all right.
No, just make sure. But when they start to make it, when you want access of records, of official records, you can absolutely get official copies, and we can have them done in our office for the county clerk's office. Now, of course, when you're talking about tax rolls, things like that, that's all going to be specified for every office, every other county office. I'm not saying that an arrest warrant and an official copy of an arrest warrant can be come up with in 12 seconds, but I'm saying it is in the right direction, and will point everyone in that direction where people can get their data that they need. And the vanity uses are the ones that I think that will really be the large input of money that people will start using it for, and that's for genealogy, things like that. And that is a larger business than most people think.
So is it fair to say then kind of initially this will be used for the county clerk's documentation, but your hope is that it will spread to other county departments in the next couple of years?
We would hope that we can tie in all the county records, and that leading by example, that this would be a way of streamlining all of our, as it wants to be used. Of course, nobody's saying you have to use this system whatsoever. We're hoping that by using this system, everyone will think this might work and let's try it. At least if it's there, they'll try it. If we don't do anything, we'll definitely be using paper and carbon copies in 20 years. But, I mean, I think that it's okay to e-ticket, like you were talking about in your presentation. Something has to be the impetus to change that, and I think this is a great way to start. And the voice recognition, although it may seem like it's just something that is kind of cool and neat, that is actually something that is very specific to ADA accessibility, and it covers a lot of problems that makes it better and makes it more accessible for a lot of reasons.
Do you have a total cost estimate kind of on the whole project to get it up and running?
What we're looking at, that's a hard question because we don't know how much data there is to put out in the cloud, but we're looking at, to start off with, I'm looking at about $160,000 to $200,000 a year is a good possible number. That's a hard number because until we put the stuff in the cloud, I don't know how much it is. I mean, that's kind of like there were 163 books that were supposed to be put digital, and that was going to cost me $623,000. We didn't do that, obviously, but I mean, there's no real cost that I can put my thumb on and say this is what it's going to cost until we actually find out how much data there is. Because with digital data, that's an actual memory amount that I don't know what that is, because we do not have all of our records digitized as of right this minute, so I can't answer that question totally.
But you're saying 160 to 200 a year?
I would guess I'm guessing it's going to be right around $170,000 a year. Of course, we have to try it first. And
are there some more, is that kind of once it's up and running, is there more upfront costs?
No, I think that the majority of the upfront costs are doing what we've been doing, is trying to figure out how we're going to do this and utilize what services. That's part of it, but again, the biggest costs are the data storage, and that's the biggest number that I can't really tell until we know how it's going to be used. And if all the county, meaning all the specific parts of the county, were to utilize it, it would be a very, very good thing, and the cost would go down. But like I said, we're not asking the entire county to do what we're doing. We're going to lead by example, and then as people want to take part, they can. And so we're incurring all the costs of this, which is just, it's hoping that it will make it more efficient for everyone.
Is this the same contract that the BOCC approved yesterday's, or this morning's meeting, I guess?
Yes.
Okay. How are you guys funding it for the remainder of this fiscal year?
We haven't been funding it because we weren't moving forward until we had funding in place.
How did you encumber the contract for this fiscal year?
Through staffing cuts and cutting back on some salaries and trimming back some of our M&O that we had planned on spending.
General fund and what your special revenue accounts?
General.
And this has been part of the plan since day one as far as for the direction of the office of what we were going to try to be doing. And so this is still hopefully our goal is to streamline what is going on in this office. Are there any other questions?
Well, mine's more of a general question. It's kind of the first question that I need answered whenever I'm looking at any of this kind of stuff, and it's a legality standpoint. Because depending upon what the answer is to that question, now you know where you can go. You may not be able to go anywhere. You may only be able to go this one place, and that makes all the other answers, or all the other questions, easy to answer. The three pieces, it looks like, besides salaries and benefits, that's a significant increase to the budget, to the general fund request, is the Tyler, the Electrodigital, and then the Agenda software. Is there any legal requirements that preclude those items from being paid out of your special revenue funds?
Not legally, but as I pointed out before, we've deleted our fund balance in our special revenue funds down to a point where we're not going to have enough funds to be able to encumber the Tyler Munis contract July 1.
Right, I understand, but my point is, if we're going to be looking at, everybody's making requests that we're not going to be able to meet. That's just the fact of the matter. We're going to have to make tough decisions on what we think is, under the current budget constraints, what's the most appropriate way to manage the money that we have. And that's where my question comes in, because if it's something that we have other things that are maybe a more pressing priority, is there still a mechanism for you guys to be able to do what you need to do to run your office? Does that make sense?
It does. In other words, you're asking, can we use our special revenue
Right.
funds if we wanted to go forward with these 3 projects? There's nothing legally that limits us from using records preservation fund, although our belief is that fund was meant for a specific purpose, for the, preservation of records.
Right.
But now we're paying people out of that fund, which is eating up.
And remember, when I came here, that there was a lot of special funds being utilized and being paid out for things. The amount of special funds available, when I took office, there was far more debt involved in that than we had assets, and there was no way to keep going forward with that. There was a 50-50 rule that you all know about, that I was supposed to have 50% of my budget intact when I took office. That was not the case at all. It didn't matter. I talked to the auditor about, the state auditor about it. What can I do about it? I can go on record and scream about it or do whatever. It doesn't change the fact that we had to stop doing some things, not finish some jobs that had a lot of money had been invested in, and we had to redirect funds and start trimming down things to turn the ship in the right direction. Felt like we had done all that, but bottom line is special funds were being used for almost everything, and that was a special fund that had a large amount 10 years ago or 8 years ago or 6 years ago, and it had been drawn down and then overdrawn, in that if we had utilized or kept the direction going that it was pointed towards, we'd be in a negative balance. This year we would have been in a negative balance of over $800,000 if I had done what was already agreed to as far as book preservation, and what was done is things were just said, oh, well, we took the books and we'll do them later when you have the money. So what I had to do was get my books back, because there was no digital copy of them, and I'm sure most of y'all know this story, but the only reason I'm telling it is that we've taken great efforts to put things back in order to have a sustainable budget to where we can operate on not only doing our job, but also trying to improve the situation of our job and keeping things moving in a more streamlined, efficient manner. And we've done it hopefully quietly, without making a whole bunch of hullabaloo about what happened or when I came in, how this was I came in with an account that seemed overdrawn. And so that being said, we're hoping that we can, do some of the special interest jobs that might be seen special interest as far as my computer expertise of pointing things that direction, and hopefully we can utilize those special funds that we have if they're available. But if we're paying a lot of people out of those special funds, that doesn't leave me much choice with those. And that was kind of the situation when I got here. Does that make sense for everyone? Okay. Any other questions?
Does anybody else have anything?
Okay. Thank you all.
All right. Does anybody else have anything for Danny? Okay.
Move to receive.
What about his others?
What about others? Do you have anything that you need to discuss on any of the others?
I'm fine.
I don't, unless you have any questions about it.
Anybody have any questions?
We kind of talked about them.
Yeah. All right, is there a motion to receive? I guess that would be your general fund, your lien fee fund, the UCC filing fund, and the records management and preservation fund.
Clerk's office proudly moves to receive those estimates and needs.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving right along.
Jenny, can I ask you a question? Sorry. 4. On your all's estimate needs stuff, you don't have the budget to look on your worksheet.
The what?
It's just the 17-18 budget.
Oh, we don't do that on any
It's
stuff.
that way on all the special
Oh,
revenue
okay,
funds, yeah.
sorry.
Because they're not,
That's true.
they're not budgeted
Yeah.
funds.
True, sorry. I need that.
What do we have there?
I have Echo's board and county audit.
Page 41.
1/8.
Page 58 on the
On page 41, electronically.
No.
And number one in your heart.
Hey, you're reading my mind up here.
Okay, I'll be short and sweet. Basically, I asked for the same thing last year. We always turn back money, but we can have up to 250 meetings in the Excise Equalization Board. I budget 125. Give or take, most of their budget comes out towards the end of the year. They start having meetings, they've started having meetings now, and I never know how many they're gonna have. So, budget's 125, and then I always budget just the chairman more, because the chairman also goes to tax roll. The benefits agree with the number of meetings that I budgeted. They do get paid mileage, and we also go to training. The training covers our 3 board members, me, and then the 2 ladies that handle the equalization board. And I believe that the training cost is going up. So I have
And
to
the training
raise
in
that.
luxuries, places like Orlando, Las Vegas.
No, this is,
Stillwater and
I think the one
Ardmore.
that BOE went to was in Norman, and the last one I went to was
Oh,
in
now
Norman.
that's luxury right there.
And to save money, but we still have to pay for the class, the excise board is usually right here in this room, through video and stuff. But we still have to pay for the class, which doesn't seem right, but, we budget our printing of our budget books in here,
the
all
final
the
budget.
publications.
The final budget.
The annual adopted budget, and the CAFR, I think, comes out here too, doesn't it?
I would remember the cap anymore.
Oh, okay. And then, the supplies that we need for our 2 boards, or I, and the girls that handle the BOE. And then, we have services other in case any of this stuff needs to be serviced. And then in the, capital, I have money for any software that we need to update, or if any of the 3 of us need new computers or something. Because they do BOE probably January through May or June, but I do excise board every month. I take in stuff that the excise board deals with every month. But it's the same as what we asked for last year. If we have any left, we always turn it back. Do you have any questions?
Move to receive the report.
second.
She hadn't done a vote yet.
Yeah, there's another one.
I still have county audit. The way we work county audit, they get 1/10 of a mil statutorily. So the way I do it is whatever their final budget was in 16-17, that's what I put on the estimate of needs. Then in September, Danny figures what the 1/10 mil is, and we add that to their budget. Most of their cost is, of course, their services to us. And then, of course, they have a copier, water, they have office space rental, their parking, the biggest, and a few office supplies and stuff, but their biggest majority of it is what they charge us to do their audits and stuff. And they also have some in there in case they need to replace, a computer or something. But this is all statutory. We really don't have a choice.
Is there a motion to receive the reports for the county audit and the excise and equalization board?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, item 10, discussion of possible action to review fiscal year 17-18 estimate of needs from Oklahoma County District Attorney for the state and county. Which page?
Russ will tell you all about the state. expenses.
Okay.
Basically, I just requested the same thing as last year. I can go through categories if you need me to, or you just have questions. really up to you guys. The state funding is all reimbursed to the county, so it doesn't really cost the county anything anyway. It's kind of a pass-through purchasing program where the purchasing is done through the county, and then a claim is sent to the state and paid out of our state appropriations, so it doesn't really cost the county anything. That's the $150,000 that we requested, which is the same amount that we've requested for at least 10 years.
The second part is the civil section contract. County has the district attorney's office. Somebody a while ago asked why there was a 2% increase. That Russell can address that question.
We're talking about payroll? Just the payroll portion that we talked about?
It was the increase in your contract
Right.
request.
That is strictly payroll, and I looked, and the main reason for the increase is one person is no longer here, and we hired somebody that actually had experience, and that is about a $8,000 difference. And there's about a $3,200 difference in longevity, which goes up. It's based on how long the employee's been here, so it's going to go up every year unless we replace them with a current employee. And I think we gave one $100 a month raise and one $200 a month raise. The lady that got the $200 a month raise has been here for 6 years and was still making $1,800 a month.
And what was the longevity stuff? You said that.
I keep forgetting the county does this. With the state, there's something called the longevity program. I think they enacted it in the 80s when they were losing all their employees to private business, Fulfill, et cetera. And basically what it is, it's just a reward for staying with the state. And it's based on how many years of service you have with the state. Starts out, you don't get it for 2 years and it's $250. Then you wait 2 more years and it's $426. Then you wait 2 more years, it's $625. It's not exactly $200, but it's approximately $200 every 2 years.
Annually or monthly?
Annually. I wish it. So, it just depends on their longevity date, how long they've been here. And like I said, it goes up every 2 years.
Anybody have any questions? All right, is there a motion to?
One last thing. Yes, sir. On the civil contract, it's probably important you know exactly what we do. We do the scary stuff. If there's a wrongful death alleged against the county, it's our problem. Oh, great, thanks. So we got one? Basically, just to give you a very quick overview, for instance, the Treasurer and Assessor's Office closed 137 lawsuits in 2016, 178 lawsuits in 2015. That's a pretty spectacular number if you know anything about lawsuits and you think about the number of business days in the year and how long it actually takes to read a court file. Of course, most of that's done by Gretchen, the human machine, so that's not actually all that surprising. For 2016, we have 977 written requests for legal services from county offices and officers. We dealt with 27 tort claims demanding $2 million, and 16 civil lawsuits were closed that demanded $19 million. If all of that had been done by private counsel, my estimate is that you would have spent $2,323,000. So you spend about 25% of that amount, but that's what you would have spent if you take it to private counsel. and you have sufficient private counsel every year to compare that to. So that's an easy thing for you to ever measure if you doubt my numbers. In any event, out of the $19 million in civil lawsuit claims, you paid $162,300 last year. That's a pretty low number historically for the civil division, but because it obviously is way less than 10%. So, but if you wonder what the civil division does, that's what we do. If there's a death, we deal with it. If there's a court claim, slip and fall, we deal with it, and we review all of your contracts. So, that's it in a nutshell. I'll answer any questions I can.
Does anybody have any questions?
Move to receive.
I'll just say, Aaron has gone over this with me in the past, and I really appreciate all the work that you guys did. I really do. It's been a big help. All right, there's a motion to receive the estimate of the needs from the district attorney for both the state, the 200, and the county 210.
Second.
Motion second to receive the report. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Item number 11. Discussion and possible action to review fiscal year 17-18 estimate of needs for the Oklahoma County Public Defender, and this will also include the drug court budget and the community sentencing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The request obviously is only for my operations. It's the same request as last year. We've been talking about this for 5 years, and still nothing has been done, and I'm real concerned because 5 years ago, I was told that the phone system was going to go crash, the old phone system. And almost every department has had their phones fixed and changed. And I was told 5 years ago that MIS was going to take care of it. I was told 4 years ago MIS was going to take care of it. 3 years ago, I asked for the money in my budget, and you all said, don't worry about it, MIS is going to take care of it. A law firm can't operate if it doesn't have phones, okay? So when they do crash, I'm going to be out of business for a period of time. And I don't know how long it's going to take. So again, I put the money in the budget for that particular deal. I don't care if you give it to me or you tell MIS to go do it, but it needs to finally get done. And I'm really serious about this. I can't have a situation where I'm out of the phone for more than 24 hours. You just can't run a law office on that. The rest of the money is the same thing. So all I'm saying is, you all figure out a way to take care of it and move on. That's basically my, and my operations budget is the same budget that I've had for probably 6 or 7 years. We're still managing the paper and whatever. I have had a lot of meetings out at the Capitol, and they always give me a full pad of paper, so I steal it at the end of the meeting because they give it to us, and so we never have to buy as much paper as I thought I would need. Are there any questions regarding that?
Yeah, Mr. Evans, the telephones, is that the equipment, telecommunications, the 24,000?
Yes.
Okay, should that be in M&O or down in capital? It's just it's a process question, because then my other question was on the M&O side, does that include there's a monthly expense on these telephones, monthly maintenance expense?
Yeah, I don't have that included, no.
Okay.
It should be down in capital.
It should be in capital, and then in M&O, it would be the monthly maintenance, correct? Okay.
I just want to point out that on MIS's budget, they put a line item for that, but then they didn't put any dollars to it.
It's because they moved it to capital projects. There's telecommunications replaced the legacy Meridian system, $466,570.
Because I think it's the system the public defender's on, the court clerk is on, the sheriff's office currently sits on.
Well, I know, like, the DA's office, I know, has changed over in the last 18 months. Originally, the previous MIS director said, well, I'll change like 4 or 5 a year, and I said, that's fine. But he said, this is what he said 6 years ago. But by now, it hasn't crashed, but if it crashes, I mean, we have a real serious situation.
And it seems like, I thought the previous MIS director said you couldn't do it piecemeal because the old phones wouldn't communicate with the new phones.
That's what he told me, yeah.
The other offices have done it.
Piecemeal?
Oh, well, no, an office at a time.
In communication, you can do a 7-digit dialing to get out. The short digit dialing is not there necessarily.
And then the other question would be, whether that MIS number, we should know this for MIS, whether that included the courthouse, because they're all on the old system, so they're,
Yeah.
I think we provide their funds.
If you could, Mr. Ravis, we're kind of trying to get preliminary information, this kind of stuff, and we may come back and have more discussion with folks as the process moves forward. But if you could, on your estimated needs, go ahead and move that 24,000 down to the capital section, and then follow up, because I don't know how many phones that is, but MIS should be able to get you the dollar amount to put up here in your M&O for your monthly expense, because if we were able to give you the money for the phones, we need to make sure that you're budgeted for the monthly expense as well.
We'll get the exact amount and the number of funds.
Thank you. And like I said, MIS can, I think they probably have that information readily.
And my request may be a year off, that may be more expensive.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, so the budget board understands that drug court fund is purely a pass for several years ago. The commissioners did not want the liability of the drug court. The district attorney and I assumed total oversight of the drug court. The money that is received from the Department of Mental Health. You all do our payroll for us, but and all the benefits, but they're not county employees. They're not. We reimburse you all 100% for the medical insurance and whatever. And if somebody is let go, we pay the unemployment out of our money that we receive from the Department of Mental Health. This budget basically includes the salaries of the 3 people, reimbursement for the district attorney and myself, but as of now, it doesn't look like we're getting anywhere close based on the amount of money that the Department of Mental Health has given us. Both of us have not been able to take the full amount of money we budgeted it again for. But if the Department of Mental Health cut us again last month, so I don't know, but we do have the money to fund whatever the salaries are, plus operations. So again, this is a pure pass-through, and the county has no liability with regards to it.
Okay.
And you, one more fund?
I'm sorry,
Did you do both the other funds?
do I do what?
Did you do both the other funds? Did you?
They're special revenue. I didn't know
They're all in here as part of it.
I'm sorry.
It's all part of it.
It all?
So, yep, your community sentencing,
I didn't do the
I did.
No,
signed
you
it.
did. Hold on a second.
You wanna look?
Yeah. You did the 1281 and 1282.
I didn't, not that. Yeah, I did that one. Or Donna did it.
Didn't give me that.
Yeah, our budget request worksheet is blank.
Yeah.
Okay, that's because here's your custody. So, this is the one where,
Oh, community center.
yeah, that's all we
Okay.
paid out of there is unemployment.
Okay,
And I think we're done.
right. Community sentencing, again, was, it was one time a county department. Okay? The money paid for the community sentence employees was passed through from the Department of Corrections. Okay? But it was in a community sentencing account. It was a community sentencing fund money. community sentencing assumed the responsibilities. A couple years ago, the Community Sentencing Board voted to privatize the entity, and everything was moved. However, we had promised the county from day one that we would reimburse the county for any unemployment. We knew we were gonna get hit, we had like 20 employees, we knew we were gonna get hit for a lot of money. So the money was left in the account. The only thing it could be used for was for the unemployment and for the benefit of community sentencing. The Community Sentencing Board, which is made up of the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners, myself, a representative of the DA's office, several private entities, Judge Elliott, we would make a recommendation if we wanted to spend whatever's left. So what was left in the account was $302,000, I thought. $302,855.02. We haven't decided what we're going to do with it, but the county's been acting as, for lack of a better term, our banker, so we have a paper trail as to where the money went. And that was based on, a long time ago, the drug court had a special account, and the auditor told us, no, you need to keep it through the county. Now everything goes through the Board of County Commissioners and the county treasurer. Is that a fair explanation of it? Does that answer your question, Ms. Sullivan?
All right, anything on mental health?
Just a little one down there, which is, I can have this, mental health court. Same deal, mental health is a pure pass-through. We don't have any employees, well, we do have employees, but they're paid by the Department of Mental Health. The money is generally used for the mental health court for drug testing mentally ill people. It also is used for their operations, i.e. buying paper, their copier, and whatever. And we've actually been getting more money because our numbers in the mental health court have gone up substantially, and the Department of Mental Health has been pretty good with regards to this. So we will have pass-through additional money coming in on this for next year. And again, that's done the same way. Everything is done through the Treasurer's Office. Board of County Commissioners approves the ultimate payoff. Well, and it has to be, I'm the one who signs the vouchers, but a member of the drug court team who's a DA, the drug court coordinator, and public defender are responsible also to sign off to validate the claim before I sign it. So we have 3 individuals doing that. Mr. Prater also has the authority to sign off on it, but we keep everything down here unless I'm on vacation, then he'll sign it.
Was this what account was it that there was money put in there for the indigent?
For the what?
Oh, never mind, I remember that's the different, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's on the grant side, yeah.
Any other questions?
All right. If
On your
no-
phones.
There's no other questions, is there a motion to receive the estimate of needs?
Second.
Motion and second to receive the estimate of needs for the public defender, general fund, public defender drug court, community sentencing, and mental health court. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thanks, Mr. Evans. All right, item number 12, discussion of possible action to review fiscal year 17-18 estimate of needs for Oklahoma County Planning Commission.
After what he did with my brackets, I moved to adjourn.
Take a break. There's one on the schedule that we kind of bypass.
Okay.
A break.
Oh.
Well, can we do Tyler and then after Tyler?
I just wanted to mention it because you had asked for it and we went over.
Well, I just, in case anybody needed to, but, you know, somebody decided to kill a horse and take a lot of time and put us way behind schedule, and we've been
That's when we drove.
fighting like.
Okay.
Back up from the, I think we were 50 minutes behind schedule, and now we are 7 minutes behind schedule.
Yeah.
Danny made up some of it.
I'm gonna have to go to the tape and time it down.
I'll be fast, I'll be fast.
You talking about your time up?
Why we didn't get a break?
You don't have to.
So we're throwing these up. We lost a break.
I'm buying softer.
General fund,
I could have thrown it harder if you want.
They have it.
Yeah, we got it.
I have the general fund and the fee fund. General fund first. Last fiscal year, I didn't receive any general funds at all. And in previous years, you've been able to supplement, my salaries, for me, and the operations was taken care of by the fee fund. This year, just to keep me in mind, I'm asking for full salary and benefits, and the additional item on there is the, master plan amendment. It took us 60 years to get the master plan amended previously. We don't, 60 years. So this time we want to do it much faster. It's been 5 years now, and it's time to redo the master plan. We guesstimate that it will cost about $300,000. We're asking $250,000 from the general fund, and we're going to supplement that with $50,000 from the fee fund, if we're able to do that.
What are the costs of doing a master plan?
What does it cost?
What are the costs? I mean, what goes into that $300,000? Why does it?
Oh, there are surveys, evaluations of the citizens, meetings, talk to the elected officials, and get a general consensus, developers.
But do we hire a consultant to do it for us, or are we doing it?
Normally, yes.
Okay, all right, that's where the cost is, okay.
It's pretty tough to do it in-house, so you have to have professional planners that can help you decide. And the outcome of that is a master plan for the county's growth and for its development and zoning and those kinds of things.
Dealing with Deer Creek.
Right. A lot of it deals with the utilities, and of course, you know, the county doesn't have any. We have to deal with Deer Creek Water and other water utilities in Oklahoma City and trying to get the county to go a certain way. We take in the citizens' opinions of what they want in the county, unincorporated areas, and all those considerations. It takes 2 to 3 years to get a master plan done. Oklahoma City, smart, they do theirs in sections. They don't do the whole city at one time. They do sections northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, a time in. So about every 2 years, they come out with another plan for a section of the county, of the city, actually. So that's our request on the general side of the house. Fee fund, basically, in that request for salaries, there is a 3% pay increase we're asking for in that request.
Are those merit-based, Tyler, or across the board?
Yes. There we go. It's been about 3 years we requested them, and we're not able to do that. Okay, this is the fee fund. Pass those out. You got one?
I have one.
You have a fee fund?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
This is general fund.
This is the planning commission.
Fee fund, with the same salaries and benefits that we should be able to do. We're operating under some a good economy right now. Been able to fund all the salaries and everything we need through the fee fund system. We're allowed to do increases in the fees about 4 or 5 years ago that helped us to get to where we go. Previously, we couldn't get any fees raised without statutory items that allowed us to raise our fees for building permits. I remember when I first started working here, the maximum we could charge for a building permits was $100, no matter what they were building. They could be building a $5 million house, and we could only charge them $100. But we've got that situated now where it's more compatible with the surrounding area, excuse me, and we were able to survive, keep employees and so forth. We have 4 full-time employees, and of course, you know, we're shared with engineering. Engineering use our same employees, and I use, so basically, the salaries of most of the employees are paid by engineering. This is just for the planning side of the house. We have 4 full-time and 1 part-time worker, our inspectors and so forth. So it's just basic, reasonable, requests, supplies and so forth. There's nothing right out there. There's $50,000 we'd like to set aside for the master plan from the fee fund. That's all we're asking.
Just as a clarification, the salary and wages you placed on the general funds are the same as what you placed on the commission fee?
Exactly.
Okay. Not that you're needing double, it's just
No,
because
not
of
trying to
the
double. You just never know what the economy's gonna go sour, and you're gonna need something.
And on the master plan, you're asking for $250 out of general fund, and you'll supplement $50 out of your special revenue. Okay.
Exactly.
Tyler, is that a project that can get done in a fiscal year?
No.
So the 300 total would be the total project? but-
Total price, right. So we're, expect, and I'm not sure we can dedicate 50,000 all in 1 year, but we'd like to give it a shot.
So your total fees, $691,000 this year, that's what you're estimating.
That's correct.
This is 90% for next year.
That's correct.
Even based on 90%, you would still have enough fees to cover your total request of $456 in your fee fund.
Right.
Which would include all the salaries and benefits of all your staff.
Exactly.
Tyler, how were those fees that you're collecting, how does that compare to the last few years?
It's been increasing better the last 3 years.
Okay.
About maybe 10% better. This is the highest amount ever.
Yeah.
I've been here 20 years.
This year, it looks like you're estimating to carry forward $385,000. And I don't expect you to remember this, but do you remember last year how much you rolled up, you carried forward?
It was about 180, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that the carry forward is more. Hey, just for clarification, and I wanted to do this last year, and it just completely escaped me. If the will of this group is to recommend funding Tyler the way we did this year, and if the budget board ultimately agrees with that, one thing that I do think we need to do is we need to add a certain amount of money to the watch list for Tyler, because this year, if you did have a revenue failure, we didn't have anything on that watch list to be tracking, planning. So if we're not going to do anything on a general fund budget for him, I do think for next fiscal year, we need to put a dollar amount in place on the watch list to kind of track that and make sure that we're going good. I mean, we should be fine next year because your estimate of needs is 456 and you're carrying over 385.
Well, your additional revenue is 600.
Right, so you almost
falls out or.
Exactly, so we should be fine, but
You never know.
you never know. And so I think that it's something that we should track.
Right.
If
Yeah.
it goes the same way as it did last year.
So we've had some lean years in the past.
Yeah, those are gonna go through those.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Is that all your funds?
That's it.
We move to receive.
Second.
Move to receive the Planning Commission General Fund and the Planning Commission Fee Fund Estimate of Needs. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you, Mr. Gammon.
Thank you.
Danny, did you want to make a motion to recess for 5 minutes for potty break?
I'm good.
You good?
Everybody else?
I thought you were looking a little yellow.
No. I just knew it was on the schedule, so Matt brought that to my attention, so it'd be a good time to do it if anybody needs one.
Anybody? We're just gonna plow through.
Only 2 left.
Okay, and moving on. Item number 13, discussion and possible action to review fiscal year 17-18 estimate of needs for the Oklahoma County Election Board.
Okay, ours is pretty straightforward. On top of our regular operating budget, we put in a 10% cost of living raise, just under $20,000. The only other thing was for 3 elections, and that's $298,982. So nearly $300,000 for elections. We've got the September sheriff at about 205, and we'll need that pretty quick after July. And then the primary next June is going to be about $71,400. And then there's some in there for a possible May. We never know until 2 months ahead of time. And if we don't have money in there for a May election, and we do, we won't have it reimbursed in time to make our June payroll. So I put $22,000 in there for that one.
Amazing, we're talking about the June 2018 primary,
Yeah.
but it's in that budget.
And also, I'd just like to let you know that I did call IT about phone replacement also. And they told me they would put it in their budget for everybody this year. But I might have to buy the old phones. I might. Doug might.
You might have to what?
He said we might have to purchase the phones for it.
That's what the expense is the phones. I mean, the other is small.
So on your 3% cost of living, so you're looking at across the board 3%, it's not a merit base?
No. And that's, for everybody except Doug. You know, he's supplemented, but he's paid by the state, so he never includes his.
I think Cody's question, and maybe you understood it, would everybody get a 3% raise, or did you use 3% for the calculation, and would different people get different raises based upon their performance?
I use 3% calculation, but Doug will probably give it as a merit.
Okay.
That's what he's done in the past.
Right, and I think that's probably what most everybody did. I didn't think she understood the question.
Okay. And then on your part-time section, you've got, just kind of confused on, you got 1% off supplies, 90, September 2017 election. What is this stuff?
What?
Part 2.
Part 2, under
Part 2
part-time.
on your salary.
Oh, no, that's hard to do. We've got one lady who is what we call part-time, full-time. She packs the supplies for every election, and she comes in 2 or 3 times a week. The 90 people are what we'll need for techs, box carriers, sheriffs, absentee voting people, anything that we need to help with that September election. And then for the June, 95. May 15 is a much smaller.
Okay, so that-
How many people we will probably need.
I got you.
Estimate.
Okay. And you're looking at hiring 2 new positions?
We have 2 vacancies.
When you say vacancies, are they people that were on the payroll budgeted for this current fiscal year, but they just left employment?
One of them did. One of them has been vacant all year.
Okay. So for our purposes, one's vacant and then the other one would be new. Just our clarification,
Yeah.
our terminology.
Yeah, probably.
Anything else? Anybody have anything?
Have you didn't budget anything for charging utilities?
Hang on one second. On the
We'll
bottom,
do utilities.
Well, you put 16,550 for your adopted budget for that this year.
What? Not this year, the wrong line.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
It was probably the same, I probably got it in the wrong line.
Okay.
We don't do utilities.
on the section 4, health and dental benefits,
Yep.
you show 7 current employees with single coverage, 5 with family, and then you're estimating your 2 new employees having it, which is 14, but the total down there is 12.
We have 2 employees who get retirement other places. They have retired from other jobs and have retained that insurance, so they don't take the county's insurance.
Okay, well, here's my question. I'm showing that you've got 7 employees that have single coverage, 5 that have family, so that's 12 people that have medical insurance through the county. You're anticipating 2 new employees, both taking family coverage, which I think is absolutely appropriate. I mean, so that's 14 folks, but down here, on the bottom, on the total number of employees is 12.
Oh, that just didn't calculate.
So,
It didn't calculate correct.
yeah,
But the number,
The total
the total's
the
right.
total number's correct, but.
Number of
Yeah.
employees is incorrect.
I didn't catch that.
I didn't either, honestly.
All right, anybody have anything else?
Move to receive.
Second. Got a motion and a second to receive the estimate of needs for the election board. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Item 14, discussion on possible action to review fiscal year 17-18 estimate of needs for the Oklahoma County Emergency Management.
Good afternoon, am I last? The one you've been waiting on? Move to accept. Oh, sorry. Second? Actually, mine is pretty much that simple. I've got 4 counts that we're looking at. I'll start off with the 1251-550 Emergency Management Fund, which is a special revenue. There are no funds requested in this account other than pass through the current balance to carry over to next year. Those are grant funds that we receive. The second is 1251-551, which is Fire Management Assistance Grant. Those are non-county funds. They're actually part of the Fire Management Assistance Grant is very similar to a disaster declaration like you would experience with tornadoes, flooding, or whatever the case may be, except they're fire-specific, wildland fire. Those funds are provided by FEMA through the state to the county where the incident occurred. We then subdivide those and send them out to the jurisdictions that came and helped us keep our county from burning down. So those are passed through also, no budget request there either. 1250-550 is Local Emergency Planning Committee. Those are non-county funds. They are required by state statute, LAPC is, for a governmental entity to hold part of those funds for them. They actually have 2 accounts, but this is one of their accounts. We simply hold the funds for them and occasionally cut a purchase order out of that. They are, again, non-county funds, and there is no budget request in this account either. Any questions on those 3? Very good. The Emergency Management General Fund, 1001-550. Salary and wages, I've requested 3% performance increase for the 3 employees, which is $5,331. And we have also, again, requested an additional position. This is the administrative assistant / special project person that would be serving in the capacity to do administrative assistance for all 3 of our employees and also to handle special projects as the title would apply. That's the $45,000 estimated salary and another $22,000 in benefits for that person. Travel, no change from previous year. Maintenance and operations, that just shows, $135 difference, but no appreciable difference in M&O. M&O. Capital outlay, several items here to discuss. 55-100 is furniture. We currently, after about a year and a half, finally have some forward movement on a remodel downstairs. They took a wall out, so that's forward movement. And we're needing to purchase a large conference type table and chairs there. The chairs that are in my office are actually 3-time hand-me-downs. And it's time to put some fresh chairs in there that haven't been through 2 other offices in a number of years.
And Mr. Burrs actually appreciates the participation of the court on expanding his space down there.
Absolutely, it is, and we have been coordinating with that. You're exactly right.
Yeah, we've been working good together.
Yes, we have, and we're excited about that moving forward. I'm still embedded in the concrete lead-lined area, which some people call a sore thumb to the jury assembly room that's currently under.
No, it's not a sore thumb. We're going to be neighbors, and we're going to be good neighbors.
Well, we are. We know that. Yeah, we're just excited that we're finally moving forward. The second item is $56,000. It's fire department public safety equipment. We have 17 fire departments in Oklahoma County that we have annual agreements with. And the primary purpose behind those agreements is so that we can provide fire rescue services in the unincorporated parts of the county. They receive no compensation whatsoever for emergency services in those locations, other than a little dribble I can occasionally give them has been purchased equipment on occasion, and also we, on occasion, are able to do a little bit of maintenance, typically, to the equipment that we own that's in their inventory. So that's what those funds are aimed at. $44,000 of that is for an additional cab and chassis. We call them brush pumpers. You've seen them, the 4-wheel drive trucks that run around and get off-road. They take the most abuse of any piece of fire equipment going. The last time we purchased one of those was in 2013. Prior to that, we purchased one in 2009. And I don't need to tell you what the fire seasons have been in that time span. So the wear and tear these units gets is incredible. I have shifted, since I've been in Oklahoma County 10 years, I've shifted how we deal with that. Previous emergency managers and the methodology that was previously employed was a complete replacement of those units. I've been able to pretty significantly transition to what we call cab and chassis as opposed to a slide-in unit on the back of those. The slide-in unit is where the water tank, the pump, the hose reel, manifolds, all that kind of stuff reside. And I can pay through the maintenance piece of this to keep those things running. I can buy a new pump for X number of dollars, or replace a water tank that's coming apart or whatever, and keep that skid unit intact. And when the truck itself dies, we take the skid unit off and put it on another cab chassis. And we save a ton of money doing that, and that's what we've been able to do for the last few years. But as I stated, a lot of those cab and chassis units are definitely abused and in need of replacement. We haven't, again, purchased any since 2013. We purchased one in 2009. We purchased one.
David, how much did you say the cabin chassis was?
I've got it for $44,000. We've stepped up to, those are 4-wheel drive. We use extended cabs because of the other equipment they typically put in there. It's not a regular cab truck. And F-450s is currently what we've been purchasing. So it's not like going out and buying a pickup. Of course, if you've done that lately, you know those, yeah, those are substantially expensive as well. The telecommunications equipment, Oklahoma County Emergency Management, we have kind of built ourselves a niche over the years. We have the strongest communications capabilities of any emergency management office, in my opinion, in the state, including the state. And part of that is to a pretty significant amount of grant funds that we've been able to leverage. For example, if a small town or a community or somebody gets wiped off the face of the map, we can take equipment that we currently own in-house and go out and set up a complete radio system for them. We've got a radio tower that's mounted on a trailer, a very nice piece of equipment that was grant funded through Homeland Security, and we have all the equipment on that unit. We have cache of radios. We can go out and basically get their public safety back on the air. And that's a huge asset. Nobody else can do that here. Well, City of Oklahoma City can, but they won't. But we have that capability, and this $13,500 is partly in support of that for public safety, and it's also partly because of we are looking at going into a redundant mode. Currently, the communications, the emergency management office, and those fire departments that I was talking about is coordinated through my office. And they are using the backbone currently owned by the sheriff's office, which is on microwave system. And I would defer and let the sheriff's office represent potential challenges with the microwave system. The microwave system inherently, even when everything is operating at 100% capacity, they inherently have challenges because of the technology that's being utilized. And as we presented in last year's budget, and again repeating this year, we're hoping to move to some T1 or fiber lines, depending on availability, to turn into the primary lines and utilize the jumps on the microwave system as redundant backup. Currently, there is no redundant backup. One link goes down, the system goes down, or at least a portion thereof. So there is funding included here to buy the equipment that would go on either end of the T1 or the fiber. Some magic boxes. I don't do the geeky stuff. And then shop equipment, that is for a power washer and what is called a porta-cool device, both for use at the Kraus garage. You're probably aware that I have rolling stock and equipment in a portion of the garage building that's out at the Kraus Center. And this is so we can continue to maintain that, be able to clean our own equipment, take care of equipment out there. Any questions?
I have a question. On your $56,000 for the public safety equipment, $44,000 was cabin chassis. So the other $12,000 would be utilized in what manner?
Tools and equipment.
Okay. And that's the tools and equipment that you kind of dole out to the rural communities?
Absolutely. It's still in our inventory, and it becomes an item that is listed on the specific annual agreements with them. We purchase everything from large diameter fire hose to extrication equipment to nozzles, just about anything. A lot of these departments are totally dependent upon bean suppers and bake sales, and funds are tight for them.
Not a mean fish fry, though. I bet some of those.
Absolutely.
Now, I recall last year we had a conversation with the telecommunications equipment that you guys were going to try to get with the sheriff's office and discuss, because I think they were looking at changing over from potentially from their current radio system into a new format. Has there been any, and we were looking at maybe trying to leverage economies of scale there. Has there been any fruitful efforts there, or?
Not as far as the mutual shared project, as far as what we call subscriber units, handhelds and mobile units. Now, this backbone piece, the T1, the fiber stuff, would definitely be something that would be available to the sheriff's office. Currently, we're both running on the same pipe and microwave with no redundancy and no backup, and this would certainly be something that would be utilized there.
We'd be able to leverage it while we continue to assess the radio infrastructure as a whole. As you all remember, since you brought it up, there was a pilot project that was placed and approved by the BOCC. Prior to that equipment going up, an assessment was made of the District 3 tower, I believe.
Correct.
And there's some issues there that are, needed to work out before anything can even be put up in that tower moving forward, whether it's a pilot project or any additional equipment.
That's correct.
But irregardless of the manner in which you move forward, can you imagine a scenario where if we invested money in T1s for the redundancy, that you guys, the sheriff's office, would not be able to utilize that investment? I don't want to go in, I mean, I think it's difficult to put money in and then turn around and, 12 months later, we're doing something completely different. You understand what I'm saying?
With my somewhat limited knowledge of how the microwaves and so forth assist in the radio project, having a dedicated T1 line would provide a more stable connection. I think that's probably one way of putting it.
Which in moments of disaster,
which would definitely assist, I think.
Important. Oh, absolutely.
Without talking to our radio guys, without looking at detail, I think would definitely assist and hopefully a little bit more reliability in our current outdated system. But we still are needing to look at to the future as far as communications go.
Well, I mean, you might want to consider, a T1 line is going to be cost prohibitive right off the bat. They're very expensive. You just need to get with some of the telecommunications vendors, and they can give you an estimate, a rough estimate, but, it would be extremely expensive. Which It would be great redundancy and it'd be better service you get on the microwave. Now, there's no doubt about it, but I don't know how far you have to go with T1, but.
Well, but this 13,500, is that,
That's not the actual lines, no. That is a
Okay.
joint project with IT.
Yeah.
We've met with Mr. Keel and his staff on several occasions.
Who's gonna provide the funding for the T1 line then?
I'm sorry?
Where will the funding come for the actual service on the T1 line?
Well, to use your terminology, I'm trying to leverage IT.
so the 13.5 is,
Hardware on each end of those lines.
Just
And
equipment
this is
costs.
for four.
Yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with
Okay,
the cable
gotcha.
between the two.
Is this all voice communication stuff, or is some of it other stuff also?
And it's radio communication. Is your question in data?
No, I was letting, I knew that, but I did have that question. It's not data, because I know our data was being sent via microwave, and we'd go
Well,
down.
there's data sent via microwave as well. I mean, we
4 to 6 times a
we
month.
transmit data over microwave as well.
And we'd go down 4 to 6 times a month, and when they went to T1, I mean, it's maybe twice a year now that we have an outage, so.
To Mr. Satterwhite's point, it depends on location, and this is involving multiple sites. 2 sites in Harrow, 1 in Luther, Spencer Jones Radio Tower, Sheriff's Office in Midwest City, and District 3 Tower. So it depends on what's available there, which technology. My preference would be fiber, but some places have it, some places don't. That's why there's a mix. And you're right, microwave, from an emergency management, public safety perspective, when we need it the most is when it's most susceptible.
right, yeah. Anybody have any other questions for Mr. Barnes?
Move to receive.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to receive the emergency management estimate of needs for fiscal year 17-18. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, David. All right. Item 15, discussion of possible action regarding follow-up questions related to any fiscal year 17-18 estimate of needs that have already been presented.
Move to strike.
All right, no action needed on that. And no action needed on item number 4, discussion of possible action to receive Department fiscal year 17-18 estimate of needs as we receive those individually when we went through the agenda. All right, item 16, citizen participation. Seeing none, board comments? None from me.
Kelly, do you know when they'll link tomorrow's agenda?
It's already, see, we can't put it out on the website until this meeting is over.
Right, no, I get, so it'll be,
So,
okay.
we can do it
as soon as
at
I
the
get
end of
anything. Okay, awesome, thank you. That was just, that wasn't so much a comment, that was a question.
Thank you.
I will most likely be late tomorrow, but I'll be here.
All right, none for me. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion is a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't think